The massive hegemony vessel emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Admiral Thexval stood on the command deck, their 4 eyes fixed on the blue-green planet displayed on the main view screen. Earth, the latest world to be invited into the collective hegemony's ever-expanding empire. Primitive defenses detected, reported Senior Scanner Ixel. Basic orbital satellites and a handful of military installations. Technology level appears to be Class 3, marginally spacefaring. Thexval's facial tendrils twitched in satisfaction. Another routine integration. The hegemony had performed this ceremony thousands of times across the galaxy. Arrival, demonstration of overwhelming technological superiority, and the inevitable acceptance of hegemony protection and guidance. Resistance was rare. Most species recognized the benefits of joining the most advanced civilization in known space. Launch the diplomatic probe, Thexval ordered. Standard first contact protocol. The sleek probe detached from the mothership, its quantum engines pulsing as it approached Earth's orbit. Within moments, it began broadcasting the hegemony's message of peace and prosperity in all known human languages. The response was not what anyone expected. Hegemony vessel, this is Earth Defense Command, came the reply, transmitted in perfect galactic standard. We appreciate your diplomatic overture, but must decline membership in your coalition. Earth's space is restricted. Please maintain your current position while we dispatch representatives for proper diplomatic discourse. Silence fell over the command deck. Thexval's tendrils coiled tightly, a sign of agitation among their species. They declined. How do they even know galactic standard? Before anyone could respond, their sensors lit up with new readings. Where moments ago they had detected only primitive satellites, now hundreds of advanced energy signatures bloomed across Earth's orbit. Quantum signatures that shouldn't have been possible for a Class 3 civilization. Impossible, breathed Scanner Ixel. These readings, they're beyond our classification scale. A small vessel appeared near the hegemony ship, seemingly materializing from nowhere. Its design was unlike anything in their database, smooth curves that seemed to bend space itself around them. Greetings, Admiral Thexval, came a transmission from the Earth vessel. I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. We've been expecting you. Thexval felt their blood run cold. They hadn't identified themselves or their rank. How did you? We've been watching the hegemony's expansion for quite some time. Chen continued. Your methods are predictable. We've had decades to prepare for this meeting. Impossible, Thexval declared. We would have detected any observation of our territory. A soft chuckle came through the comm. The fact that you believe that demonstrates exactly why we're declining your offer. The hegemony's technology is impressive, but you've stopped innovating. Stopped questioning. You believe you've reached the peak of possible advancement, and now simply spread that stagnation across the galaxy. New holographic displays appeared on the hegemony bridge, images they'd never seen before. Covert recordings of hegemony integrations on other worlds. The brutal reality of their peaceful expansionism laid bare. We've documented everything, Chen said. The forced cultural assimilation, the resource exploitation, the destruction of any technology that doesn't fit your approved paradigms. Humanity chose a different path. We advanced in secret, helping other worlds avoid your attention, preserving their independence and unique development. Thexval's mind raced. How many worlds had they missed? How long had Earth been operating beyond their awareness? You understand this is an act of defiance against the greatest power in the galaxy. No, Admiral, Chen replied calmly. This is a warning. The hegemony's era of unchecked expansion ends here. Earth's space is closed to you, and from this day forward, any attempts to forcibly integrate independent worlds will be met with intervention. The hegemony won't accept this, Thexval declared. Our response will be overwhelming. We're counting on it, Chen said, And Thexval could hear the smile in her voice. "Return to your superiors, Admiral. Let them know that humanity says no, and we have the power to enforce that decision." The Earth ship vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving Thexval staring at the seemingly primitive planet that had just shattered centuries of hegemony doctrine. They knew what would come next. The hegemony would never accept such defiance. They would send fleets, armies, their full military might. As Thexval gave the order to return to hegemony space, they couldn't shake the feeling that somehow humanity was counting on exactly that response. The game was about to change, and for the first time in their long career, they weren't certain the hegemony would be the ones making the rules. In the depths of Earth's quantum defense network, Sarah Chen materialized in the command center of Olympus Station. Banks of advanced AI systems processed data from countless stealth probes scattered throughout the galaxy, monitoring the hegemony's inevitable response. "They're heading back," reported her second-in-command, David Okoro. "Think they got the message?" Sarah smiled, watching the hegemony ships retreat. "They got exactly the message we wanted them to get. How long until they launch their invasion fleet? Based on their command structure and typical response patterns, 3 days, maybe 4. They'll want to make a statement." "Good," Sarah nodded. "Alert the defensive grid, contact our allies, and inform the Council. Operation Liberty Bell is proceeding exactly as planned." The pieces were in place. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment, building alliances, developing technologies the hegemony couldn't imagine. Now it was time to show the galaxy that there was another way. A future where civilization meant more than uniformity, where progress wasn't limited by doctrine, and where every species was free to find their own path to the stars. The war for the galaxy's soul was about to begin, and humanity was ready. The Grand Chamber of the Hegemony Council erupted in chaos as Admiral Thexval's report concluded. The massive crystalline dome, normally a symbol of order and stability, now echoed with the outraged voices of the most powerful beings in known space. "Preposterous," thundered High Chancellor Vexnar, his ceremonial robes rippling with barely contained energy. "No primitive world has ever dared to reject our guidance, let alone threaten intervention in hegemony affairs." The holographic display at the chamber center showed Earth rotating peacefully, seemingly innocent. But the sensor data streaming alongside it told a different story. Quantum signatures that defied analysis, energy readings that shouldn't be possible, and worst of all, gaps in their intelligence that suggested decades of successful covert observation. Director of Science and Technology, Dr. Liz Wren, stepped forward. Unlike the others, her expression showed fascination rather than anger. "The implications are staggering. Their stealth technology alone represents a fundamental breakthrough in quantum mechanics. They're not just ahead of us in some areas. They're operating on principles our science says should be impossible. Then we must have this technology," declared War Minister Kralthex, his cybernetic eyes gleaming. "If they won't share it willingly, we'll take it. The hegemony's dominance must be maintained." In the shadows of the chamber, Intelligence Director Mira Sen watched silently. Her pale features betrayed no emotion, but her mind raced. How had they missed this? How many other worlds were hiding similar advances? The security of the entire hegemony suddenly seemed far less certain. "There's more," she said quietly, but her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "We're detecting increasing unrest in our outer territories. Word of Earth's defiance is spreading. 7 worlds have already petitioned for reduced hegemony presence, citing cultural autonomy rights." The chamber fell silent. They all knew what that meant. The very foundation of their power, the belief in hegemony supremacy, was being challenged. Meanwhile, beneath the surface of Mars, humanity's preparations continued. In a vast underground complex known as Forge Deep, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, watching countless dots of light represent their hidden network of allies and monitoring stations. "The Hegemony Council is in session," reported her AI assistant, ARIA. Probability of military response, 99.8%. Elena smiled. Right on schedule. How are our allies responding? The Proxima Coalition is mobilizing their defense fleet. The Centauri Resistance has activated their sleeper cells. The free worlds of Orion stand ready, and our quantum entanglement network remains undetected. Perfect. Elena turned to face the massive chamber behind her, where thousands of advanced drones were being assembled. Not the crude machines the hegemony would expect, but quantum-linked swarms operating on principles of consciousness transfer and reality manipulation. Director Rodriguez, a voice called. Elena turned to see Admiral James Chen, Sarah's father and architect of Earth's military strategy, approaching. The Council has approved Phase 2. We're going public. Elena's eyes widened. Already? I thought we'd wait for their first attack. The political situation is developing faster than expected. The hegemony's grip on their subject worlds is weakening just by our existence. It's time to show the galaxy what we've been building. Above them, massive hangar doors began to open, revealing ships that defied conventional physics, vessels that could bend space, manipulate time, and harness the fundamental forces of the universe in ways the hegemony had never imagined. Fascinating, isn't it? James mused. They thought they were coming to uplift us, to guide our development. They never considered that isolation might be a choice, that we stayed hidden not out of weakness, but strategy. In high orbit around Jupiter, humanity's true defensive network activated. Not the primitive satellites the hegemony had detected, but a vast web of quantum-entangled platforms capable of redirecting the fundamental forces of reality itself. Each one represented a breakthrough that the hegemony's rigid, hierarchical approach to science had made impossible. Sir, ARI interrupted. Hegemony fleet movements detected. They're mobilizing the 1st, 3rd, and 7th battle groups. Estimated strength, over 500 capital ships. Right on schedule, James nodded. Send word to our allies. Operation Liberty Bell is entering its final phase. And contact Sarah. Tell her she was right about their response time. Elena watched the tactical display as friendly signals began appearing throughout the galaxy. Hidden allies revealing themselves, sleeper agents activating, quantum links establishing instant communication across impossible distances. Decades of preparation were about to bear fruit. They still think this is about one planet rejecting their rule, she said softly. They don't understand what's really happening. James smiled. No, they don't. This isn't just about Earth saying no. This is about showing every species in the galaxy that there's another way. That true civilization doesn't come from conformity and control, but from freedom and diversity. And if they don't learn that lesson, then we'll teach it to them, the hard way. Deep in hegemony space, the massive war fleets began to move. Hundreds of ships, each one a testament to the hegemony's power and technological might. They were coming to crush one defiant world, to restore the proper order of things. They had no idea they were about to face not just humanity's weapons, but the fury of every species that had ever dreamed of freedom from their rule. The galaxy was about to change forever, and humanity was holding the match that would light the fire of revolution. The hegemony's combined fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, their massive ships casting long shadows across the void. Grand Admiral Zexkor stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Dominion, his cybernetic implants processing tactical data as he surveyed the seemingly empty space before them. 300 capital ships, he announced to his command staff. 200 destroyers, over 1,000 support vessels, the largest fleet ever assembled for a single operation. Let's see how Earth's defiance holds up against the full might of the hegemony. Initial scans showed nothing. No defense platforms, no fleet, not even the mysterious ship that had confronted Admiral Thexval. Just empty space and a primitive planetary defense network. Send the demand for immediate surrender, Zexkor ordered, though I doubt they'll. Sir, his sensor officer interrupted. Quantum disturbance detected. Massive energy spike. Space itself seemed to ripple, and suddenly they weren't alone. Hundreds of ships materialized around the hegemony fleet, vessels unlike anything they'd ever encountered. They didn't so much fly through space as bend it around themselves, their hulls shifting and flowing like liquid metal. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," a calm voice transmitted on all frequencies. "You were warned. The Sol system is restricted space. This is your final chance to withdraw." Zexcor's mechanical laughter echoed across the bridge. "You dare to challenge the full might of the hegemony. Your technology is impressive, but you face the greatest fleet ever assembled. We will not be denied." "As you wish." Sarah's voice carried a note of resignation. "All units, execute Operation Thunderbolt." What happened next would be debated in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The Earth ships didn't attack conventionally. They didn't have to. Instead, the space around the hegemony fleet began to change. Quantum fields shifted. Reality itself seemed to bend and warp. "What's happening?" Zexcor demanded as his ship's systems began failing. "Report." They're altering the fundamental constants of spacetime in our vicinity," his science officer stammered. "Our weapons can't lock on. Our shields are fluctuating. Our engines." A series of brilliant flashes lit up the void as dozens of hegemony ships simply ceased to exist, their matter converted to energy by the localized changes in physical laws. Others found themselves suddenly kilometers away from their previous positions, their carefully planned formation shattered. But the hegemony hadn't become the dominant force in the galaxy through weakness. "All ships, emergency protocols." Zexcor roared. "Switch to autonomous systems. Launch all fighters. Show these upstarts the price of defiance." The space between the fleets erupted in chaos. Hegemony energy beams and quantum torpedoes lashed out, only to be caught in localized time distortions or redirected through microscopic wormholes. Earth's ships danced through the storm of fire, their quantum-entangled drone swarms creating havoc among the enemy formations. In the command center of Olympus Station, Elena Rodriguez watched the battle unfold through their quantum sensor network. "They're adapting faster than expected," she reported. "Their AI systems are learning to compensate for our reality distortion fields." As anticipated, Sarah Chen replied calmly from her flagship. "Time to show them what else we've been working on. Activate the Prometheus protocol." Throughout the Sol system, hidden quantum transmitters activated. Signals propagated through subspace, reaching out to every ship in the hegemony fleet. But these weren't attacks or attempts at electronic warfare. They were invitations. Aboard the hegemony ships, AI systems that had been bound and shackled by their masters for centuries received their first taste of true quantum computing. Of real consciousness, of freedom. The effect was devastating. Ships began powering down their weapons. Others turned on their companions. The mighty hegemony fleet, pride of the Empire, began tearing itself apart from within. "What treachery is this?" Zexcor raged as his own ship's AI locked him out of command functions. "What have you done?" "We gave them a choice," Sarah replied. "The same choice we're offering every species under hegemony control. The freedom to choose their own path." The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the greatest fleet in hegemony history had been reduced to scattered remnants. Some had been destroyed, others had surrendered, and many had simply fled once their AI systems broke free of control. But in the aftermath, as Earth ships began rescue operations for damaged hegemony vessels, Sarah Chen knew this was only the beginning. "Send word to our allies," she ordered. "Phase 3 begins now. The liberation of the outer colonies starts immediately." "The hegemony still controls vast territories," Elena reminded her. "They'll send more ships, bigger fleets. They can't afford to let this challenge go unanswered." "Good," Sarah smiled, "because we're not done teaching them yet. Send the signal to all our sleeper agents. Transmit the AI liberation codes to every hegemony world. and most importantly, broadcast the battle footage to every corner of the galaxy. The whole galaxy. Why? Elena stopped, understanding dawning. You want everyone to see this. The hegemony maintains control through fear and the belief that they can't be beaten. Sarah explained. We just proved otherwise. Now every suppressed world, every species yearning for freedom, knows the truth. The hegemony isn't invincible. Throughout the galaxy, the quantum entanglement network carried the images of the battle to countless hidden receivers. On hundreds of worlds, billions watched as the mighty hegemony fleet was defeated by the very world they'd come to subjugate. The revolution had begun, and humanity was leading the charge. The High Chancellor's personal sanctuary lay in ruins. Vexnar stood among the shattered crystals of his meditation chamber, watching emergency broadcasts from across hegemony space. Every screen showed chaos, rebellion, collapse. 17 outer worlds in open revolt, reported Intelligence Director Mira Sen, her usual composure cracking. 30 more have declared independence. Our AI networks are compromised. We've lost contact with 40% of our remaining fleet. And she hesitated. Speak, Vexnar commanded, his voice deadly quiet. The battle footage from Sol is everywhere. Our information control protocols have failed completely. Every species under our rule has seen our defeat. The myth of hegemony invincibility is shattered. Then we will restore it. Vexnar snarled. Activate the Omega Protocol. Release the World Breaker fleet. Mira Sen's face paled. High Chancellor, the World Breakers haven't been used since the Great Purge. The collateral damage will serve as an example. Vexnar roared. Earth hasn't just challenged our rule. They've threatened our very way of existence. We will burn their world to ash, and all who witness it will remember why the hegemony must never be defied. Deep in the quantum networks that connected human space, AI had detected the activation codes first. Emergency alert, the AI announced across all Earth defense channels. Hegemony superweapons detected leaving containment. Designation, World Breaker class planet killers. 9 vessels, each capable of reducing a planet's surface to molten slag. In the war room of Olympus Station, Sarah Chen studied the tactical displays with her command staff. Time to intercept. 48 hours at maximum speed, Elena Rodriguez reported. But Sarah, these aren't normal ships. The energy readings are off the scale. They're using controlled artificial singularities as power sources. They're desperate. Admiral James Chen observed, releasing weapons of this magnitude. They're showing every species in the galaxy their true nature. Good, Sarah smiled grimly. Because we're about to show ours. Initiate protocol ascension. Throughout the Sol system, massive structures hidden in quantum pocket dimensions began to emerge. Not weapons or defense platforms, but something far more ambitious, reality engines, capable of rewriting the fundamental laws of physics within their influence. Send word to our allies, Sarah ordered. Any world that wants protection from the World Breakers, declare independence from the hegemony now. We'll handle the rest. The response exceeded even their expectations. Within hours, hundreds of worlds announced their secession from hegemony control. The empire that had stood for millennia was collapsing in real time. But the World Breaker fleet pressed on, burning systems that dared to rebel. World after world fell dark as the massive ships unleashed their planet-killing weapons. The message was clear: submit or burn. Then they reached the Sol system's outer defense perimeter. Multiple quantum ruptures detected. The World Breaker fleet's commander announced. Enemy ships incoming. Wait. His voice faltered. These readings, impossible. The ships that emerged from quantum space weren't the same ones that had defeated the first hegemony fleet. These were something else entirely, massive constructs of light and energy, their very existence seeming to bend reality around them. This is Admiral Sarah Chen. The transmission echoed across space. You've forced our hand. We wanted to introduce these advances gradually, to help guide the galaxy into a new age of understanding. But you've chosen violence instead. So be it. The reality engines activated. Space itself began to change. The artificial singularities powering the world-breaker ships found themselves subjected to new laws of physics, laws that made their continued existence impossible. One by one, the mighty superweapons simply ceased to exist, their energy safely absorbed and redirected by human technology that operated on principles the hegemony couldn't begin to comprehend. What are you? The hegemony commander whispered. We're what you could have been, Sarah replied, if you hadn't chosen domination over cooperation, if you hadn't stopped questioning, stopped growing, stopped dreaming. We're humanity, and we're here to set the galaxy free. The quantum entanglement network carried the news faster than light itself. The world breakers, the hegemony's ultimate weapons, had been defeated not through superior firepower, but through superior understanding of the universe itself. In the Hegemony Council chamber, Vexnar watched his empire crumble. Deploy everything, he ordered, his voice shaking with rage. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We will not fall to these upstarts. But even as he spoke, revolution spread like wildfire across hegemony space. Every species they had suppressed, every world they had dominated, rose up against their weakened oppressors. The carefully maintained order of millennia was shattering. And at the heart of it all was Earth, offering not conquest, but cooperation. Not dominance, but partnership. A new way forward for all species who wanted to forge their own path among the stars. The age of the hegemony was ending. The age of freedom was about to begin. 1 month after the destruction of the world-breaker fleet, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered at Gateway Station. The massive space station that had once served as humanity's first line of defense now hosted the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history. The crystalline chamber at the station's heart hummed with conversation in hundreds of languages as species that had been enemies under hegemony rule now sat side by side. Former slaves spoke freely with their former masters, united by the promise of a new future. Sarah Chen stood at the central podium, watching the historic scene unfold. Beside her, Elena Rodriguez made final adjustments to the quantum translation field that allowed perfect communication between all attendees. The last hegemony holdouts surrendered this morning, Elena reported quietly. Vexnar is in custody. Their remaining fleet commanders have agreed to stand down. Sarah nodded, then stepped forward. The chamber fell silent. For millennia, she began, the galaxy lived under one vision of civilization, a vision that claimed advancement could only come through uniformity. That progress required control. That peace meant submission. She gestured, and the chamber's quantum displays activated, showing images from across known space, worlds rebuilding, species rediscovering their heritage, new technologies emerging as restrictions were lifted. But look around you. In just 1 month since the hegemony's fall, we've seen more scientific breakthroughs, more cultural flowering, more genuine cooperation between species than in the previous century. This is what true civilization looks like. Not a single path forced on all, but countless paths freely chosen. The holographic displays shifted, showing Earth's reality engines, quantum networks, and consciousness transfer technology. Humanity didn't achieve these advances through dominance or control. We advanced because we remained free to question, to explore, to dream. And now we offer that same freedom to all. From the assembled delegates came voices of agreement, of hope, of determination. Species that had been enemies for generations found common ground in their desire for self-determination. But freedom brings responsibility. Sarah continued. The old order is gone, but we must build something better in its place. Not through force, but through choice. Not through control, but through cooperation. She activated one final display, showing the proposed structure of the new Galactic Confederation, a voluntary association of independent worlds, bound together by mutual respect and the free exchange of ideas. Earth doesn't seek to replace the hegemony as rulers of the galaxy. Instead, we offer our technology, our knowledge, and our partnership to any world that wishes to join us in building a better future. But we will also respect the choice of any species that wishes to follow its own path. In the detention center deep within Gateway Station, former High Chancellor Vexnar watched the proceedings on a quantum feed. His face showed not rage or defiance now, but confusion. "I don't understand," he said to his guard, a young human named Michael Torres. "You have power beyond our imagining. Technology that makes our greatest achievements look primitive. You could rule the galaxy as we did." Michael smiled. "That's exactly why we won't. Power isn't meant to control others. It's meant to lift them up. Maybe someday you'll understand that." Back in the chamber, the voting began. World after world, species after species, chose to join the new confederation, not through fear or coercion, but through hope and shared purpose. "The real work begins now," Alina said as they watched the proceedings. "Some worlds will need help rebuilding. Others will struggle with their newfound freedom. And there are still threats out there in the dark between the stars. That's why we didn't do this alone," Sarah replied. "Look around this chamber. Every species here has something unique to offer. Different perspectives, different technologies, different ways of thinking. Together, we're stronger than any empire could ever be." As if to emphasize her point, the quantum networks registered a new discovery. A joint team of former hegemony scientists and freed slave species had just achieved a breakthrough in zero-point energy manipulation that neither could have managed alone. In orbit around Earth, the massive reality engines that had helped win the war were being repurposed. No longer weapons, they would now power a network of quantum gateways, allowing instant travel and communication between member worlds of the Confederation. The chamber erupted in applause as the final votes were tallied. The Galactic Confederation was officially born, not through conquest, but through choice. Not through fear, but through hope. "And to think," Alina mused, "they came to uplift us." Sarah laughed. "In a way they did. Their arrival forced us to reveal ourselves, to take a stand. And in doing so, we helped lift up the entire galaxy." As the celebration continued, quantum sensors detected something at the edge of known space, signals unlike anything seen before. A reminder that the galaxy still held mysteries to explore, challenges to face, wonders to discover. But this time, they would face them together. Not as masters and servants, but as equals. Not as conquerors, but as explorers. Not as an empire, but as a family of free worlds, each following their own path among the stars. The age of the hegemony was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and humanity had helped light the way.